Welcome to another episode of the Empowerment Platform, where our mission is to empower you to reach your goals, whatever they may be. I'm your host, Tyra Shivers. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Corey Seague, and our guest interviewee tonight is Mr. Paul Preech Garrett. How's it going, guys?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Yes.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Corey. How's it going?
I was gonna say every day is a great day, you know. Preech said earlier, he's like, he don't have no bad days. I felt that.
Yeah.
Good. So, Paul, I was just reading a little bit about you from your website, and it talks about how you are the embodiment of the be and do philosophy with confidence philosophy in the ministry for nearly 20 years and Navy veteran.
Yeah. I was in the Navy for 8 years, and now, man, since that website, I've been in ministry now for 22 years. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
And you're committed to the Navy's core values of honor, courage, and commitment. So outside of what your website, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Preech Garrett?
Man, I'm a perfectionist, man, who likes to lead others past that line of resistance to a victory. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Man, I'm a perfectionist. I like for things to flow the way they supposed to flow. I like everything to be organized and in order. And that was a part of me that I did not want to accept. But once you self-assess and you interrogate yourself, you got to own what you find if you want to be authentic. And so what keeps me authentic is when I say I'm a perfectionist, because it keeps me where I need to be. And again, it's convicting. So I am a perfectionist, but I love helping people, and I want to see people win. And I'm gonna do whatever it takes to help you win, to help you get that breakthrough, to help you get through that past that line of resistance, man. And that's just, I find that's what I do in everything I do. So, yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about you. I read that you had some obstacles that you overcame, and that you were saying dedication, perseverance, and sacrifice. Tell us a little bit about your background, your upbringing, from where you were then to where you are today.
Oh man. So I grew up here in Dallas, in South Oak Cliff, in South Dallas. I went back and forth a lot. However, I grew up with my grandparents and my mom and uncle in the house. But once I got to a certain age, I want to say it was probably, we got around 6th grade, my mom got addicted to drugs. And so I didn't learn how to cook drugs on the street. I learned right there in the house, cooking up her drugs. And then we had an uncle in the house who was a heroin addict. And so you can kind of think what type of environment that is. I have 3 younger sisters that I had to help, raise and put a lot of forth that effort. We was on welfare, just like everybody else. Back then we had them food stamps. You ain't got these nice cards today, but we had those stamps, man. You had to tear it out the coupons stamp book, man. The brown one was $1. The blue one was $5. The purple one was $10, and the green one was $20. So that was your currency, to get food, man. And so, so growing up in that type of environment, man, where you don't, every day is a hustle, every day is a grind. But, when that becomes and shapes your reality, you don't really know the other side until you experience the other side and you see it. Like they say, you didn't know your childhood was bad until you went to somebody else's house, But man, that was our reality, and we made it work. Unfortunately, growing up around addicts, that pretty much takes control of everything that's going on in the house. So, lights turned off, water turned off, phone turned off. You go to school one day and your friends bust you out. Hey, man, I tried to call you yesterday, but your phone was turned off. And then you got to lie like, no, my grandma just unplugged all the phones. I got in trouble. Your water turned off. So, man, you asking the neighbor if you can borrow their water hose so you can run some water in a pan, man, and then you can go boil it so you can take a bath. No lights, you got candles, and so yeah, man. So that shaped up. I played sports. I was captain of the football team, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the week a couple of times, offensive player of the week 5 times, and I failed the 12th grade. Yeah, I failed the 12th grade, man. My grades didn't reflect how studious I really was because I didn't have time. I worked, I played ball, and I had to take care of my sisters. So my grades didn't reflect. And then ended up going to a HBCU for a couple of years in Tyler, Texas. And after 2 years, my mom wiped me out. I had no more money for school. So I had to pack it up in front of everybody, move back home, and 6 months later, man, I was in the United States Navy.
So what made you, I guess, because for me, I went into the Air Force and I went to college. I went to Tuskegee.
Okay.
And of course, in the pledging and everything else, I lost my scholarship.
Oh man.
All 3 of us messed around in school and didn't do those grades right. We
Right.
didn't show an accurate reflection of who we were.
Right.
Before he went, he lost his stuff.
That thing was gone.
And so for me, I tried to go back home, and they were like, "Well, you can't come back here and not work." I
Right.
didn't have a great relationship with my dad at the time. I asked, "Could I come live with him?" He was like, "Nah, you can't come stay here." And so I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I didn't want to work in a movie gallery and UPS for the rest of my life. So I was asking around. They were like, "Well, talk to your uncle, Daryl. He's been in the Air Force probably 15 years." And I spoke to him, and he was like, "The Air Force has always been good to me. I was poor. I came from Trinidad. I got here, married your aunt, joined the Air Force, and I've been in the rest of my life. I got
Wow. Yeah.
degrees. I got everything through there. So it's always been
Mhm.
good to me." So I joined. Did you have a similar situation that you felt like there was nowhere else to go but the military?
Man, I'm gonna say this. Hey, this is probably about as easy as I can say. It was either join the military or I was about to kill somebody. It was one of those type deals, man, where to this day, I cannot tell you what was on my mind when I walked in that office, that recruiter's office. I just found myself in that area, and the recruiter's office was there, and I walked in. And it was, at the time, the best decision I could have ever made. My grandfather had spent time in the Navy, so that's why I walked on the Navy side and not the Marine Corps side. If I had it to do over, I probably walked on the Marine Corps side. If they probably urged me a little bit more, I probably would have walked on that side. But yeah, man, it was one of them things where I was back home working and just the money wasn't what that was. And I know being at home, this is not going to work. Somebody's going to end up getting hurt and it's time to go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How did the service treat you? How was your time in the service? What did you learn? What did you pick up?
People always say, man, you go to the military and get discipline. You can learn discipline in the military. You need to get some discipline. Well, the military doesn't teach you discipline. Discipline kind of comes from within. But what they do teach you is structure, and they're going to provide you a structure. They're going to teach you fundamentals. And so what they did for me, because I was a very detail oriented person, I gravitated to the attention to details, and I enjoyed the structure. I learned structure. I learned enhanced my leadership skills while I was in the military. Took the team aspect to another level because I had played sports, and here I was, now I'm not a part of a team. So that became my team. It became the uniform, your uniform of the day, and man, it just provided a good system and structure for me that I needed at that time to get away from my environment. And it showed, man, I got exposed to so much. I mean, so many different people from different places. And you get to learn about other people. You get to see different things. And so, man, I enjoyed it those 8 years. But when it was over, I was glad it was over.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So Corey, from that information, it seems like you and Preech have a lot in common. Sports, college. what were some of the things that you just picked up from Preach that you can think of that relates to your story?
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to me, it seems like we both had a background of we don't have nothing, so I'm gonna go get it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the way that you go get it ain't the
Ain't
legal
the
way
right.
to go get it.
Right.
And so for me, you know, I ran with the wrong crowd. You know, I made some transactions with some people that I probably shouldn't have had to do that with.
Right.
And it seems like you also did it a little bit different because you learned how to do it in home. I had to go outsource it to figure out how to do this stuff. But the one thing that I will say though is it seems like based on what you're saying, both of us have a point in life where we just said, you know what, something has to give.
Right.
And so for me, I know I was running with the wrong people. I ended up going to college at University of Houston. And I said, this has to stop because I'm going to the NFL, hands down. I'm good. Obviously, I did not because I was more athlete than student.
Right.
But the thing is, you talked about the team then becoming like whoever you were with right there. Now that's your team. Like now, instead of playing football, my team and my uniform is this group that I'm with. I really want to know, like, talk to me about how that kind of shaped what, like, how you or who you became, because I know for me, coming from football, I was like the man. I'm getting interviewed on the news, like people looking at me, like people talking about, oh man, we know not to run it at 36, right? We know not to run it at him. I played linebacker, so for a lot of things, I just applied the same football principles to things that I did later on. And I was like, y'all making it sound complicated.
It's not.
So talk to me about that. Like through the things that you learned, even by doing things that you weren't necessarily supposed to do, how did that shape and mold you into kind of the leader that you are today and the person that you are today?
Man, that's a real good question, man. One of the things I pride myself on, I was always loyal. You know, and I was always the voice of reason, even in wrong. I'm gonna find reason to try to make this right the best way we can, and always treated people right. So what sports and football did to me, man, it gave me that platform to exercise my leadership, you know, and be around men, and you know, and not be afraid to be around men. I'm not a big guy. I'm a little guy. I played quarterback and all that, but I prided myself on defense because, you know, I used my speed. So I was the little big man. My favorite people on the team was like the defensive lineman, you know, and the linebackers. I want, let me run with the toughest people. And so that became my group. So when it got time to get to the military to make that transition, okay, this is a different group of people. This is a different team, but we still have a mission. Now, where do I fit in this structure? Where do I fit in this chain of command? And let my natural instincts take over, and that's the lead, you know. So I learned the structure. Anywhere I step into, man, I'm trying to figure out the structure because I want to lead. I want that responsibility.
Right.
Yeah, I want it. And so what I learned from the Navy, though, man, was the importance of structure, the importance of protocol, and taking care of your fellow person no matter what. You know, man, we down like 4 flats. Yeah.
On the lag.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, when you said that on the lag, man, I just had a UGK moment. My bad.
Straight out of Port Arthur.
Yes, sir.
So now, Preach, after you got out of the Navy, when did you get into, let's start to get into the paradigm shift.
Okay.
At what point did you decide that self-awareness, authenticity, the John Maxwell certified member, the certified speaker from Eric Thomas and Associations, where did that start to pop up? What pushed you in that direction?
Back in 2016. So, man, it's funny that you asked that, man, because inside of me, even from the college days, man, I used to film parties, and go off and video everything, man. I just had this thing I just wanted to show and tell and lead, right?
Mhm.
So I ended up back in Dallas after being gone for 12 years. Got back in, full-fledged ministry, man. Was going to the prisons and talking to people, man. I'm walking around the prison and eating chow with the inmates, man. It's just the brotherhood I had established while I was there, every time I went. So what happened? I was working for JP Morgan Chase, and I want to say I was in Louisiana. I want to say probably New Orleans or Thibodeau, somewhere in that working that day. And man, I got up that morning, I was at work, man, and I just felt this uneasiness. And that uneasiness, it was starting to happen every morning to the point where I was in tears, man. It was like something more. You're not doing enough. It's more than just this. And so looked online, man, seen the whole John Maxwell thing, tinkered around with it, man. Didn't really know if I was going to do it or not. Got scared, put it off for a few months. Finally joined. When I joined the John Maxwell team, man, got on the first call, I was in tears because I just found a whole family of people that were in the same place that I was in, that wanted to help people, wanted to lead people, but watch this, didn't have the structure.
Wow.
And Maxwell showed me that structure. So quit my job, man, a few months later. Walked off my job.
You jumped.
I jumped.
That's that real jump.
Yeah. But, given, again, when you talk about paradigms, given my history, I made decisions like that. I would deliberate. Then finally, boom, I'm turning the switch, and it's no looking back. Same thing with the Navy. I thought about it, walked in, boom, pulled the switch. Nobody knew I was leaving. So that's how I just made the decision. So I did that with corporate America. And I looked at how much money I made taking home. And I said, I'm going to give myself 2 years. If I'm not flying in 2 years, then I just go back and get a job.
True.
But I got this motto, man, you're going to die anyway. So why not try and swing the bat? So in 2016, man, I left corporate America and spent a lot of money on self-development and trainings.
Let's pause right there.
Man.
Right there.
Yeah, because I got something on it.
Go ahead, Corey. You can take it.
So I had, again, a similar story, right? And so, even Tyrus and I, we met through ETA, got certified and all that stuff. So for me,
certified, I didn't know the speaker program.
Yeah.
Well, I was in that first cohort.
Oh, so you're a real OG.
Yeah, OG.
We was dropping 1,000 a pop.
Yeah. Well, so here's and that furthers the point to me.
Yeah.
I never engaged in it. Man, I was YouTube University. I was hey, can I pick your brain real quick?
Yeah.
I was, what video can I run across? What PDF can I find and all that stuff. So for somebody, and I want people to hear this when you're listening to this, for somebody who comes from where you come from where I come from, you took a little bit different approach. You were like, you know what? That's how I think. I'm going to jump. For me, I was like, I'm not going back there. So I don't know if I want to give up this money.
Right.
And so in my mind, I started thinking, oh man, even though my thought was growing, you talk about paradigm, my paradigm was starting to shift. Because I get to college, I'm like, oh man, Tyrus and I laughed about this before. One of our old roommates, I said, man, y'all don't know no struggle, man. We lived in a room with a house with 4 rooms in it. And he was like, I got one better for you. I lived in a 3-bedroom household. And I was like, you missed the entire point.
Yeah, the whole point. Yeah.
But for that, I then started to see this is capable. So for you, talk to me. I want to hear about what in your mind changed for you to say, you know what? I don't mind putting the money up, right? You talk about $1,000 a month. That's what he's talking about, people. $1,000 a month to get certified in the program. And some people won't spend $1,000 a year in self-development.
Right.
So talk to me about that. What made you, or what shifted in your mind to be like, you know what? I need to put this money up. I need to step forth. If by me doing this, I'm going to get here.
Right. What triggered for me, man, because when you look at the DISC assessment, I'm a high C. I'm very cautious. So I'm fear of being wrong. And I want quality. And so I'm gonna think that thing out, and I'm gonna detail the thing that got me interested to spend the money to invest in myself, because I saw that the money that I was spending or investing was not more than what I was worth.
Let's not skip past that. Say that one more time.
I saw the money that I was investing was not more than what I was worth on the inside.
Self-worth.
So I had already been speaking for nearly 20 years at the time. And I spoke while I was in college. So speaking was not the issue for me. The issue for me was, let me find out what they're looking for, make the adjustments, and I'm gonna kill it. And then let me find out let me learn what I don't know, because you can't put a price tag on that. Let me learn what I don't know, and then put a plan together so now I can maximize my potential. And this investment gonna come back. It's currency, it flows.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I like the word that you use, currency that flows, investment, the return.
Yeah.
People, they associate paying for self-development like they pay for a tool or another.
Right. So watch this. The only way I could make the investment is I had to see myself higher than where I was. That's in my imagination. The investment was to help me put a plan together and to get me around people that's operating on a higher frequency of where I'm trying to go. So now that I can will what I saw to me, our problem isn't where we don't get the paradigm shift is we're dreaming, but we won't put a plan behind it. And so we keep operating on a lower frequency, thinking these things up here are going to just automatically come to you. And watch this. And you hanging around people on a lower frequency that's reinforcing your paradigm.
Take us through that. Take us deeper down into the paradigms now.
Yeah. So our problem is not knowing how, or not even not knowing where we want to go. We know where we want to go. We know how we got to get there. Our problem is we don't know where we are. You ever been to the mall and you need to go to the restroom? And you find the map, the board, right? You go there and you locate the restroom. And you see, oh, the restroom is back on the first floor. You know how you're going to get there. I got to get back on the first floor and go to the other side of the building. But the only way you're going to get there, you got to locate where you are.
Right.
And our problem is we never pause to find out where we are and self-assess and be honest with ourselves and realize what we can do and what we can't do in order to get to where we're going. So you never change things by fighting the existing reality. What you do in order to change things, you have to build a new model that'll make the existing model obsolete.
Go on, cut the podcast right there. That's all y'all need for the day. That's all you need. He gave you everything you needed right there.
Because it's getting deep. And the question I know that the audience is probably thinking is, okay, I understand what you're saying, but then how do I build the new model?
I'm glad you asked that, because remember, the paradigm is just habitual behavior that's been built over time. And so you operating on the subconscious mind. The problem is we don't like to think. We go off memorized data. Only 2% of the world actually think. 3% think they're thinking, and the other 95% would rather die than to think.
Wow.
Sheesh.
If we pause and think, you realize how much you can really get done. So what changes the paradigm is now my belief system. I have to change my belief system. What I now look at as truth for my life through my image maker and do it repetitiously, then that becomes the new belief system. See, I had to have the shift
Mm-hmm.
that I believe what I'm seeing in my imagination and imagining myself to do. I had to start believing it.
So almost like just as if I want this car, and I other people say, "Oh, I want a Ferrari. I want a Ferrari." Well, I put a picture of Ferrari in the car I'm driving, and I think about it, and I speak it, and everything that my mind is focused on is that car. I'll
Right,
to do the work necessary to bring it to fruition.
right. So I have a question, and this is even for your listeners. What is it that you have not achieved or received that you didn't put full attention behind in thought process?
Oh, for me, I know it's a lot.
Ooh, Lord, yeah.
You know, but up to this point, everything that you seen yourself being able to do and you put thought behind it and you put the work behind it, you've gotten it.
Yep, it gets done.
It gets done. See, our problem is the poverty of imagination and the lack of attention.
Mm. Break that down for us.
We don't put a lot of value in our imagination. It's like the television. The television tells a vision. What you see is not in the flat screen. It's being shot from a satellite, but it's sending you images through these commercials and these Christmas ads that it's a sale going on. It's Black Friday, and you can have what you're seeing through the image maker. You believe it so much that you'll get online and order something or go to the store until what you saw in an image maker becomes your reality when FedEx or Amazon delivers it. But it starts with an image. So you mean to tell me what you're seeing yourself to be in your mind? It's possible. It's just now that you're not putting a thought and a plan behind it. So my competition is not with you. My competition is with my creativity and my ignorance.
Oh, yeah. And I always say, even for just me, I got to be able to see it. Once I can see it, that's a done deal.
Yeah.
And so Tyrus and I have talked before, even me going to college. I started realizing, man, making $50,000 a year, man, people do that just on a regular.
Man,
I was like, that ain't that much money. In my mind, I'm like, oh, you rich.
Yeah.
I was like, you rich too. That ain't no little bit amount of money.
Right,
and then I realized, oh, people, this is just regular to people. And then all of a sudden, I was doing it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, people are living in 2 and 3 and 4 bedroom homes. And I was like, oh, that's regular.
Man.
Oh, college isn't, for a lot of people, college isn't this big ordeal. It's just what they do.
Right.
You go to high school, then you go to college. So I had to see that. And I was like, oh, all of a sudden my mind starts to shift. That's what it made me think about as you were talking through that. Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up, man, because it has to be a mind expansion in order to believe something that was bigger than your reality. You know, I come from food stamps and roaches. And what I'm seeing here is so far, you know, away from that. You mean to tell me I can do that? I can be that?
Now, I got a question to go that's right along those lines. And Preech is really, what do you think happens? Because again, I come from a small town too, where all people know is the hard work. You work in a factory 15 hours a day, you go home, you sleep, and you work 40 years, and then you retire and hope you got enough to survive off of. With the imagination, with the mind expansion, even if I give information, like I have a friend of mine, we grew up, he's 4 years older than me. He got into Primerica Financial Services.
Yeah.
Now trying to take that information back, and people are like, life insurance, even with the knowledge, what happens to their imagination? Why even hearing it, their mind don't soak it in and attempt to expand?
That is awesome. That's what you call a stronghold. That's what I call a stronghold. And the reason why you need a breakthrough, you need that certain burst of information that's going to push you past that line of resistance. So 2 things that come to mind that you said that when it comes to the imagination, there's 2 questions I ask myself. 1, am I willing? 2, am I able? Am I able to do it? Yeah. But now are you willing to do it? See, that will.
Mhm.
You got to have the will, because you better believe somewhere in the process, your will is going to get tested. And that was one of the things I loved about football. Somewhere in that game, the will is going to get tested. Whether you winning or losing, it may be your one-on-one battle, but somewhere in there, the will is going to get tested. Are you going to finish this game and play it out, or are you going to quit? I don't care what the score is. And that's the way life is. Are you willing and are you able? And so that shift for me, man, when I started seeing what was in my imagination, and like I said before, man, the thing that hit me the most, and this was transformational for me, man. And I heard this guy say it, and I can't remember. I just remember hearing him say it. You're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So why are we trying to arrive at death safely? Live a life to have some stories to tell.
I think that's what a lot of people a lot of people won't take that. They'll be like, oh man, that sounds too harsh, Preach. What you mean I'm going to die without,
I know, right?
what you mean I'm going to die without some experiences? But I know a lot of people like that, right? Like probably, all 3 of us, we probably know a lot of people like that from where we come from, that they just kind of want to get in there, and to be honest with you, by the time they die, they just want to be like, you know what? I kind of had a little smooth sailing life. I didn't quite have what I wanted. I didn't struggle too much, but I just kind of had it right there. And I think that for me, it even hit me because I'm like, no, you're right. Like one day, folks going to be burying us. What you have behind who you are.
Yeah.
For sure.
And are you going to let fear keep you on the porch, man? Man, it's and that's why when we was talking before and you was like, man, how you day? I don't have bad days. Why? Because I'm living a life to have some stories to tell anyway. Beyond, watch this, of what I had to go through. I don't want that to be my story. Oh man, he made it through this. No. Let's talk about the stuff that I stepped out there and tried to kill a lion. Man, let me tell you what this dude did. Man, that joker walked out there and tried to fight a lion. That lion whooped him, but he went right back out there. Man, come on. What are we trying to do here? I want to achieve. Oh man, I want to go beyond common sense. I want to explore those things. If I'm putting so much thought in what bad could happen, why not put much more in what good could happen? So let's live that life to tell some stories, man. I want to tell some stories. It was safe and it was not, and that's no knock on anybody. But man, tell me about those things that the road was tough, that you put yourself out there on.
Right. Some sacrifice, some excitement, something that, because, that also goes back to our imagination and what we believe we can do. If you don't believe you can do things or even imagine it, you skate that just safe zone. And you don't stretch, because you can't stretch if you're not outside the comfort zone. So most people are trapped, even when, I know me and Corey talked about this before, even when it's detrimental to them. The situation is not so great.
Yeah.
I'm suffering a little bit, but I'm not suffering enough, or the fear of getting out of what my comfort zone is, even if it's detrimental, will keep me from just trying something that could put me in a better place.
Yeah, man, because those paradigms end up controlling your logic. And so I have a formula, this chart, man, where it's your paradigms which generates or contributes to your actions. Those actions generate emotions. Those emotions push you towards your results. And then what happens is those results oftentimes reinforce the paradigm. And if you want to get that paradigm shift, we have to operate in reverse order. What does that perfect work day look like? What does that dream look like that's tapping into that imagination? What, how much money would you really like to make? And let's write that down. Let's get a clear understanding of what that looks like, right? Now, how do you feel about that? Because that's going to release some good endorphins. I feel awesome about that. Now, let's put a plan together. What is it going to take? Oh, I'm going to need to do this. I'm going to need to do that. I'm going to need to do this. I'm going to need to do that. Oh, cool. Man, we done made a lot of progress. Now, what paradigms needs to change in order for you to get there? And that's where you find a lot of resistance. Because there's some things I'm going to have to shift in my habitual behavior.
Now, let me ask this, though. So as we talk about this shift, there's two things that I always say. A very successful person, if you can combine these two things, you'll knock it out the park. You'll blow it out the water. So I thoroughly believe people in general are either given the grind or the exposure. Meaning you either been put in a situation to where you had to, as we call it back home, get it out the mud.
Right.
You either gotta go get it, or you've had it, so you know what it looks like. You just gotta put the work behind it. So it sounds like you have kind of a similar mindset. So talk through us like that. What's your thoughts on? And I've had these conversations with plenty of individuals. There's a point in time in your life where you have to understand which one you have and which one you need to go get. I always used to use the term, I could swing a hell of a hammer, and I know I can swing it with the best of them. I don't know where to swing it.
Right.
So talk to me about that, as far as like when it's going through your life.
Yeah.
When did you start to mix that exposure with the grind that you already had, and then all of a sudden you start to see stuff take off?
Man, that's awesome. And what happened, man, I really sat down 3 years ago now, man, and got self-aware of what my talent was. Like you said, you're going to swing the hammer. You just need somebody to show you where to hit it. I'm the guy that's going to show you where to hit it. But I'm going to need somebody to encourage me to go ahead and swing it. Right? Once I got self-aware that I'm going to process and think everything out, but where my blind spot is execution at times, because I'm trying to be too perfect, then that began to shift some things for me. Because I don't care how hard you work. I don't care how many hours you put in. I don't care. You can, like we say, own your 24. You can do all that. You can grind. But if your paradigms don't change, stuff will remain the same. And one of the places I realized that the first thing that had to change, the grind had to be on my character. And so that's where that shift came for me when I took the self-assessment, find out where my talent was. I'm a very high empathetic person. I'm a very strategic person. But bro, you got this blind spot in practical thinking. At times you think too much and not execute. So what I do now is surround myself around people like you that's going to swing it, and that's going to encourage me to swing it. Because at the end of the day, if I'm trying to do it all by myself, I'm selfish.
Yep.
And why try to do it all by myself when I've been placed around some people that can help me to operate in my talent and gift and use minimum effort and have success? Man, we got some prideful people, man, that just won't let go. We all know some people right now, man, if you just let that go, quit trying to do it all. Sweetheart, if you just let that go, quit trying to do it all. I understand you're a boss, but you got help. And I'm like this, man, when you get in that position and you either build a system to do the things you can't do or earn the right to pay somebody to do what you can't do. But you can't do it all. If you're trying to do it all, you're selfish.
When you kill that ego, you finally live life.
There you go. I like that. That's a t-shirt.
There we go, Tyrus. We're going to have us one.
Yeah.
You kill your ego, you finally live life.
And what you're speaking to is so true, because that is, how Corey and I and Aisha Thomas came up with our relationship to partner.
Wow.
It was, okay, we have distinct characteristics, strengths in some areas, And then we had those blind spots in other areas, and we were aware of them. And it's like, okay, not only do I not want to do this alone, I got some people around me that can take it over
Right.
or that can handle it. Or as Corey would go out and be that eye, that high
Yeah.
eye,
Yeah.
that person that captures the room and throws the jokes. I'm that practical person where I'm going to show you the nuts and bolts how to do it. You can call me bored if you want to, but it'll be done.
Yeah.
Yep. He gonna teach you how to do it though.
So that, people have an issue, and I was going to go back to after imagination. I think the
Yeah.
next shift in our paradigm is to begin to work, because
Yeah.
you broke it down. You got to create that plan. Once you see it, you plan it, you reverse engineer, you create those milestones, and you start knocking them out. People do not want to do the work. They don't want to look in the mirror and say first that it's me,
Right.
and that goes back to the victim mentality.
The stories you telling yourself. Man, I got a system, and it's funny. I got a system for business and a system for personal life. For personal life, I call it thoughts, stories, and programs. In
Wow.
business, I call it state, stories, and strategies.
Same concept, different names, based on application.
Thank you. And they all tie us back to my decide, discover, and deliver. Decide what it is you want to do. Discover what it's going to take for you to get it done. Now go exceed expectations by delivering, by making the expectations the floor and not the ceiling.
So Preech,
Mhm.
you coach, and I know you consult on this work. You help people through this. Let's go back to the strongholds. How do we begin to break down the strongholds and the barriers that they have in this in order to get
Man,
it done?
let me tell you. So I use the advanced insights assessment as my tool to have the conversation. And that advanced insights assessment, man, of course, it deals with DISC, and this tells you how, or your preference in how you behave in situations and role, and how you prefer to think, behave, and communicate. DISC is not who you are, it's how you are, and it deals with behavior. We all know behavior can change. Your behavior can be one way, but your intent is the other. I can argue your behavior, but I can't argue your intent. So we look at the DISC, and that shows us, our natural and our adaptive behavior. Then I go to values, that shows you your motivators, the things that you run to, the things you enjoy doing. And then we have what we call attributes, that shows me your talent level in your decision-making process, externally and internally. So I get to see how you're feeling about yourself that's beneath the surface. So it's like a 3-layer lens, man. And so once I look at those results and we jump on and have the conversation, and the conversation is simply we investigating reality without placing blame. So we don't even know that we're having a consultation. It ends up having a conversation. In that, one of the things I look at is your preference for behavior, right? And I ask a simple question, and it is, so help me understand, how did you become such a high so-and-so, or you prefer? 9 times out of 10, they revert to something back in their childhood, or something, a traumatic experience, or just a life-changing experience. That lets me know their paradigm. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And from there, you get the story. And from the story, when you're listening, one of the things people I think they miss about coaching is, if you're doing a lot of talking, you're not coaching. You're mentoring or you're teaching. Coaches ask what questions, how to questions. Help me understand questions. If I ask you why, then you're going to give me an emotional answer. I don't want an emotional answer. I want to challenge your thought process so we can self-assess. So my question is going to be, what was the desired result you was looking for by taking that action? That stuff ties back to the paradigm. From there, once we notice where the paradigm is coming from, sometimes it's reverting back to that 8-year-old. And it's all about giving, it may just be about giving that 8-year-old permission, saying, hey, my 35-year-old self got it from here. because we were subconsciously in that habitual behavior operating back to that 8-year-old when that traumatic experience happened.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is why there are tools out there like this assessment that will help bring light to some of these issues. Because if we go back to what Preech said earlier, most of us not even thinking. We think we're thinking, but we just operate.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, there's a stat I read the other day. It says 7% of people, I believe it's in the nation or the world, I can't remember which one it was, actually can accurately self-assess themselves.
Wow.
7%.
Wow.
99% claim they can, though.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you see it, and I'm sure, Preach, you see it yourself. Every time you give an assessment out, they're like, "Oh man, that sounds just like me," and you're like, "Yeah, but you don't
know it."
Yeah, you didn't know that though.
Yeah. It's amazing, man, because in my sessions, one of the things that we get done is a mission statement. And whenever I tell them, all right, we're about to write a mission statement, I see people cringe. I don't know about that. But once I explain it to them and show them how easy it is, we get that mission statement done in 10 minutes. And now I'm dealing with a total different person and they don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that mission statement now not only now serves a purpose of who you are and how you do what you do, now it serves also as an affirmation. So when you ask me, so tell me something about preaching, I say I'm a perfectionist who likes to lead others in a unique way towards a victory. I'm letting you know how I do it. My preference is a high C. I'm very cautious and I'm a perfectionist. And then I want to lead, very high political in my values. I'm individualistic. I want the freedom to come up with my own conclusions. And then I want that return in economic. And now when I face a situation and I'm perplexed or I'm thinking too much, I say my mission statement. And if it doesn't fit my mission statement, oh, that's not for me long term.
Yeah, it's the scale for your life.
Exactly.
Most people will not get on the scale because it's going to tell them who they are.
Yep. But it's in you anyway. It's about manifesting what's in you anyway. Let's bring it out.
So now we're diving and getting into authenticity at that point.
Yes. The self-awareness definition is an interrogation of oneself. And I love that because it's interrogation. You got to question yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But just like on First 48, once you get in the interrogation room and they break out the facts,
man,
and the
it's tears.
Hey,
he did it. He did it.
You ever see when they when the investigators leave out and they in there by themselves and all of a sudden they start balling up, they'll get on the floor. Why? Because now conviction has to set in. You got to take ownership of what you found. And then that's where authenticity lies. I didn't like what I saw with perfectionists, but guess what? I'm gonna embrace it. Why would I stain myself? It's there for a reason. So yes, I am a perfectionist, and I'm letting you know I'm a perfectionist off the top because I want quality and I want it done right. And I only want to do it one time.
That's good. Reminds me of a lot, and we covered a lot of information, a lot of deep, because you got to go back and rewatch it and replay it because I know you missed some stuff. But as far as getting out of our environment, out of the paradigm, there's a book, Triggers,
Yep.
by Mr. Goldsmith, that will help set a lot of you free out there. Listening. If you could give us, Preach, because we got about 10 minutes left, if you can give us 3 action items to do that will help us begin to shift our paradigm, what would they be?
Oh man, first it's self-assess, like we just spoke of. And the reason why I self-assess, again, you can't get to where you're going if you don't know where you are. If you don't know who you are, outside of what everybody has called you. One thing I found out, man, names carry weight because names reveal nature, character, and authority. So when everybody in your family is still calling you Lil Petey or you know, Peanut or whatever your childhood name is. What they're doing is keeping your identity as that person, and the person they call is the person you become.
Wow.
And so one of the things we have to do is change people's, man, you gotta cultivate people and teach people how to treat you through life's journey. Because I'm not a little Peanut no more, or whomever. I'm a grown adult. So I need to self-assess who I am, take ownership of who I am, and walk in it, knowing where I want to go, walk in it. The next thing is I have to identify and take ownership of my talents and what I'm bringing, my strengths. What good is Superman if he don't know he can fly?
Yeah.
Right. Man catching the bus.
Yeah, you see him with a cape on.
Right. I'll be there in about 3 hours.
Yeah, right. And everybody looking at you like you crazy. Like, don't you know you're Superman? And so then the third thing I would say, so first would be self-assess. Number two, get familiar and recognize your true natural abilities. The third thing is change. And it takes confidence to change. If you lack confidence, then you can't make a decision. And if you can't make a decision, then you can't change. And so those three things, if you take those three things, you can really get that shift that you need and raise that frequency, man. Raise that frequency. One of the things I started doing is I'm not waiting till I get the check to behave a certain way. I'm not waiting till I get the house to live a certain way. What I'm doing now is every morning I'm making a conscious decision to tell myself, you have every dime that you imagined yourself of having. You're living in the place you imagine yourself to live. And you're doing the work that you've imagined yourself to do on the highest level. Now, operate on that every day, that frequency. If $5,000 wouldn't be a problem if you had 2 million in the bank account, don't make it a problem today.
That's a good one, because most people are gonna be like, I gotta pay these bills. But
Right.
just saying, because if you do make it a problem, then you're reinforcing the paradigm and the
Exactly.
you're already living in, so you won't even be able to see beyond that and make the right moves to get to that next level.
And it's not gonna matter how much money you make. You can have $5 million in the bank account, and because you're not aware or you're not walking in what you're supposed to, you end up with $8 million worth of debt.
Yeah, right. How lottery changed my life.
Now, I had an old coach. He always used to say, man, I took a punt return back for touchdown one time, and he said, teammates was like, man, oh, you didn't celebrate. And I said, because the coach always said, you got to act like you've been there before.
Yeah.
And so I always took that principle in life too. It's like, that's where people get in trouble, because they get to a certain point, they reach some success, they get some money or whatever, and you acting like you ain't never been here.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're blowing money, you're getting in trouble, you're in the news, you're doing all this other stuff. You got to act like you've been there before.
And that's because probably something, that paradigm shift they never got, that habitual behavior, man. It's listen, if I tell anybody, get that breakthrough, get what you need to get past that line of resistance. Man, it changed my life. You know, the assessment changed my life. It changed my focus. It let me know what was possible. It's changed the people that I associate with and operate with. Man, I'm having conversations with people I never thought I would have conversations with. I'm in rooms that I never thought that I would be in, but it's because the imagination and me operating on that higher frequency. I can drive down to Houston right now, and I guarantee you this radio station here in Dallas, K104, is not going to reach.
Yeah.
Once I start getting, in between, I'm going to be getting some static.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the bottom line is, it all begins with us.
Yes.
The internal. The self-assessment, no matter what, if you don't change that, and it's evident, in the NBA, the NFL, when those guys go, they play, they make a lot of money, they come out, they go broke. It's because they're still living in that same mentality that they had before they got there, never took the proper steps or the actions to change who they were. Preach. When you got into Game Changers and John Maxwell, had you taken the assessment at that point?
I had taken DISC because I had taken DISC with the military and a couple other jobs I had. And then I had did it with JP Morgan Chase. We called it Wait a While for customer service. And so my mind with DISC was so fresh. And then I linked up with Chris, who brought the assessment to that community. And Chris was like, yo, Preech, you need to do this. I wanted to, but at the time I was like, no, I'm going to just focus on speaking. And he was like, no, bro, you'll be a natural at this. It's really a business consulting tool. And so we did some work together and I was able to see some results. And he started training me. And in the midst of that training, Chris passed away. We were supposed to have a meeting and I called that morning to talk. And that's when I found out he had passed away. So from there, I went and got certified myself. I spent the last dime I had. I only had $1,600 in the, I think the certification at that time was $1,200. And I had to buy a flight to Iowa in the middle of nowhere. And it was freezing cold. And when I tell you that was my last dime, it was my last dime. But again, I was believing on what I was seeing within myself. And at that time, me, Mustafa, started working with E and started laying the foundation, what is known now as extreme execution. But in that process, man, in working with E and still knowing what I wanted to do as well, it built up the confidence again and working on that higher frequency. And I would say this, man, within 90 days, I got my money back and some because I secured a deal with a small business here in the local area. And from there, I just started building upon that. And when COVID hit, I had to pivot because I couldn't do my live events. Yeah. That's why I was really making my money. And so what I did was wrote a curriculum to teach people how to coach, along with training people on how to do these assessments. And that has sustained me and pushing me again further to what it is I'm seeing and imagining. And now I do master classes as well, man. So I'm like, man, this stuff is crazy.
So, man, I'm telling you, Corey, I got to get that soundboard. So when people say stuff that I need to pause them, I can get
we're going to have to get you the board. Drop the bomb.
Because Preech dropped some bombs right there. One, again, his last dime he chose to invest in himself, what he saw in his imagination. And, I'm about to cut somebody. I don't know who it is. But there are people out there, they don't want to invest in themselves, but they will spend their last dime and the credit card company dime to get PlayStation 5. That new pair of shoes, to get that purse, to get that whatever. But they won't spend it to get something or to do something that will bring a return back to them.
Right.
And you spent.
Man, I spent a lot of money. And I will say this, man, I did something that I had never done before and I heard people talk about. I put together a vision board. And I'm going to tell you, I've probably been one of the first people to tell you, man, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. But, man, when I put together that vision board, and I distinctly remember I put John Maxwell on that vision board. I put Bishop T.D. Jakes on that vision board. I put Dr. Eric Thomas on that vision board. He was the last person because I didn't know who he was. He was the last one I put. I just knew his voice. And in exactly 1 year, February of 2017, I spent 2 days with Bishop T.D. Jakes. March, I spent 3 days with Maxwell. And in April, I met Dr. Thomas. And the rest has been history.
The rest is history. Wow. Just hearing the story of believing in yourself, expanding your mind, operating on higher frequencies, and the results show. I mean, it's paid off.
Yep.
They used to say, of course, they say it in the wrong way. Scared money don't make money.
Right.
Well, the money that you don't invest in yourself is not going to bring a return for you. You can't get better without some level of investment.
Right.
It's amazing to see because we all have that. All three of us on here have that in common of going through the training, meeting these people, investing in ourselves, and then seeing the return come back. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time either, especially when you do, like you said, preach, apply and execute it. You know,
Right.
plan up and actually go and do it. Now, I can't let you go without understanding your ministry. Talk to us a little bit about your ministry, what work you do, what your calling you feel is, and just really where God has you.
Oh man. So now, man, I pastored a church in Mississippi for about 4.5 years, and then I moved back home to Dallas. Was attending church, just an associate minister, man, and started doing prison ministry. But 9 years ago, man, I organized a church, and so it's called Freedom Point Church here in Dallas. I love it, uh, and man, it keeps me grounded, man. Keeps the home base, man. But it's also it's a good platform for me, man, to extend what I'm doing, because I still put all this, man, under the umbrella of ministry. It's just me going outside the four walls and being able to help people that won't walk through church doors. And I like it because it's more intimate, and I can really get down one-on-one and help people get past that line of resistance and help them find out what that vision is inside themselves and help them find their talent. Again, we have talents and non-talents. Either God gave us something or he didn't, but the world tells us we got weaknesses. And so we make it, that automatically makes us feel like that we got something missing and something lacking or something is broken. And so when you sit down and have that consultation with me, man, it's like, okay, we about to put the pieces back together, show you where your superpowers are, the things God gave you, your strengths, and man, get you on that road to success. And so being able to do what I do outside of the church is just the extension outside. We got to take the church outside these four walls. We got to be, we can't be so traditional. We keep everything in these four walls, man. I'm a very individualistic person, so I'm gonna do things differently. Everything I do is different. Like, why not? That's my question. Why not? Why we can't do that? Who said that? Well, always is wrong. I'm about to I'm about to do this, and we're gonna do it this way. And so, because I feel like there's freedom there, and we got to exercise that freedom. There's authority there. We got to operate in that authority. There is power and a force there. We got to operate in that force and know that we have. So the world news is not my news. I've been born again, so my news comes from above. The Bible says, be in the world, but not of the world. That word world comes from the Greek word cosmos. It's where we get the words cosmetics. You put makeup on top of what's real to cover it up.
See, where my button at?
Right. I was like, we need a little.
Yeah. So when I'm operating from my wisdom from above, that's what's real. And so the world, the cosmos, the cosmetic is always moving because it's with props, it's with arrangements. I remember coming up, they told you, well, you get a high school diploma, you can get any job you want. Then once you got the diploma, okay, now you need a college degree. You get the degree, oh, now you need your master's. Now you need 2 masters. Oh man, your PhD would be good. Now you need at least 5 streams of income, which now is going up to 7.
Yeah.
Because the world is always moving stuff around. But my wisdom from above says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added. They never changed. And so now, man, one of the things I consciously make a decision on every day before I go to bed, I ask myself, was I a witness today? And my definition for a witness is evidence producer. Did you produce any evidence today that the Father sent the Son? Faith without works is dead. So your faith is your convictions and your persuasion, right? Work is corresponding action. So did you put any corresponding action by your convictions and your persuasions?
See, we're gonna have you come back on. We're gonna
I was like, we gotta do more. Do more. I'm driving to Dallas right now. Finish this conversation.
Perfect. So last question that I have, and I'm gonna let Corey ask anything that he has.
Okay.
You following? Who are you listening to? I know you mentioned Maxwell, TD Jakes. ET, who are some other names that you have on your follow list that you pull information from that you like to hear?
Man, it's funny that you say that right now, man. When it comes to spiritually now, man, I've always liked Dr. Miles Monroe. May
Ooh,
he rest in peace.
That's
And
the man.
yeah, I'm also a fan of Noel Jones, and I like them too because they're really good with theology. But one of my favorite theologians is a German theologian by the name of Paul Tillich. Uh, Very interesting, deep writing guy, man. He writes theology. His writings are very deep, and then he like lets the cat out the bag in the very last sentence that will have your brain oozing out your ears. So I love the journey that Tillich takes us on. But right now, man, what I'm reading. It's funny you say that, and these books are right here. I'm reading this book called You Too by Preech. It teaches you how to have a quantum leap quickly, how to get results quickly, to operate in a high velocity. The other book that I'm reading again is called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
Yeah.
Challenging that thought process. And then, man, I'm going back to, again, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. You know,
that book changed the game for me.
Man, and it's still changing the game. So with that, you know, I'm listening to some Bob Proctor right now. I'm listening to Earl Nightingale, you know, that ties you back to Napoleon Hill and following that tree right now. And anytime they drop a book that they read, I'm going to find that book. So that's a hint, guys. If you, whoever you listening to, find out what books they read.
Right.
And write them down, man. And that's always been my journey, because it's like, I can't afford your program, but what books you say you was reading? I can go to the library and get those books.
I got something, a story that just proves that point. I was sitting in a real estate meeting one time, and a guy was like, "Here's my book for $15.99," and he said that most people are like, "Oh, I don't want to buy the book," but he said, "You know, this book is my whole course that I used to sell for $15,000 a head. I put it all in the book."
Wow.
And so books, that's another thing that my mentor, you know, spoke to me about. Most people are looking for that mentor. They're looking for that coach. They want to get next to the greatest minds. Read the book. Get close to them. And like Pre said, follow the line of who's talking. When I listen to Jim Rohn, he talking about Earl Schoaf. You go back and listen to him, he talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
You listen to E.T., you hear about Les Brown, Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
You hear about Dr. Miles Monroe when you hear Les Brown. There's a great minds think alike, and those circles aren't disconnected. Now, all those people, Jim Rohn to who? Tony Robbins.
Yep. Yep.
They're all connected in a certain way. So just pick up these books. Since you wanted to talk about the books you read, I'm finishing up Triggers. Reading What's Your Genius?
Yep. Oh, yeah. You got that book? What is Your Genius? This right here?
Mine's about to be on the way.
Hey, man, listen, you're going to end up taking that book everywhere you go.
I believe it. It's a good book.
You know, now, Jay Niblick has another book called The Profitable Consultant that's good as well.
Yes, I'm definitely check that one out. I got some other stuff over here. Definitely some theological books.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I know for me, I got this right here. It's The Score Takes Care of Itself, Bill Walsh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mindset, Carol Dweck.
That's a good one.
And then I know we talk about assessments, but this is a different type, the 9 types of leadership right here.
Oh, yeah.
And in my audio book, I'm listening to Ray Dalio's Principles right now.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I think I agree with all y'all, though. It's just most people will be like, I don't have the money to go get the coaching and all that stuff, but you won't crack the book open.
Right.
You won't crack the book open to see what the principles they talk about or the things that they went through or the stuff that they went. Ray Dalio is, I think, P. Diddy's mentor. I don't think I make enough money to go sit down with him right now. Not yet. So I'm gonna have to go get these principles through this.
But he got that book though.
Right. Same thing with Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill was literally the first book that I consciously opened up, said, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna comprehend it. I'm going to understand it. I'm not just reading it to regurgitate information. And that changed the game. Now, granted, we can't sit down with Napoleon Hill right now, but
and he got
could
it
you
from
imagine?
He got it from Eric Carnegie.
Right.
You know, he spent.
How much money would that cost us to go sit down with that individual, though?
Man, that's one of the things that John Maxwell said that I thought was interesting. In his day, he would pay his mentors $100 to spend an hour with them, and he would travel to where they were.
Man,
to get to see, man, it's important to know what you don't know and know where to go get it. Once you get that, again, are you able and are you willing?
Yep.
And that's good. And that's good, man. I was listening to Jim Rohn yesterday, and he mentioned The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, I got that book on my bookshelf. He was like, if you got that book and you read it again.
Yep.
Because here's another thing with books. When we read them and we apply, we read them in the situation that we're in right now. However, as life changes, as we begin to grow and shift, when you reread that book, there's some things that didn't jump out that first time that will jump out at this stage or this season in your life. So there are people that donate their books. No knock on them. I'm not a donator of my books because I know that I want to go back and read.
I'll buy it for you before I donate it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can pick it up. Corey, do you have any questions for Preech? Anything that lingering, burning in your mind?
Nah, I think we answered them all, man. And if I feel like if I ask any more questions, we're gonna have to start charging for this one.
All right. Well, Preech, tell us how the people can follow you. How can they reach you? Where can they see your information?
Oh man, real quick, you can find me at paulgarrett.co. That's the website, and then of course from every social media platform is Paul Preech Garrett or just Preech Garrett. That's Preech with 2 E's, and so you can find me there, IG, Facebook, and Twitter. Right now, man, I'm getting ready to do a masterclass over the assessment, so I'm letting everybody take the assessment and we'll do a group consultation. We'll be in there for about 2 hours, but you're going to get some valuable tools. We're going to find out where that line of resistance is. And man, I'm doing it up until Friday, man, I'm doing it for $100. So, and that is a $500 consultation. And I'm doing it for 100. After Friday, the price will go up to $150. So it's still a good deal. And you can find that on my social media platforms as well, if you want to check that out.
Perfect. We'll make sure we share that out. Preech, before I let you go, I can't let you go.
Right.
There's so much good information. Because we talk about imagination, if you've mentioned that so many times, what is in your imagination right now? Where are you going? What's your vision?
Man, that is a good question. Right now, man, my imagination is to operate at the highest level possible and help as many people as I can get past that line of resistance and gain the financial freedom so I can help more. So that's the goal. That's the foundation that I'm establishing for myself and my children, that we're going to be a servant to the people of this world and you know, whatever their talents and gifts is, but use it to serve other people and know that your gift is the key to your wealth.
That's that, folks.
Perfectly.
That's that, folks.
Like Corey said, if we give you any more, we're going to have to start charging.
We're going to have to start charging for this.
But I want to definitely appreciate you for joining us.
Man, thank you guys so much.
Sharing your knowledge, the information, and putting it in a breakdown in bite-sized bits that can be digestible.
Yeah.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you listened, if you jumped in parts, re-listen to this, go back, hear the nuggets, like and share it. Push it to as many people as you can, because we all know someone who is trapped behind some kind of stronghold. They're in their paradigms, and we just want people to win. We want you to be empowered to get out of the situation. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. You have tuned in to another episode of the Empowerment Platform, where our mission is to empower you to reach your goals.